Hello and welcome to AgWorks at CCA. AgWorks is located at CCA's Capital Campus in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. We are an aquaponics facility, and what that means is we're using fish waste in order to grow plants. Today we're going to do a tour, and once we take a closer look as to what's going on in the system, you'll start to see what aquaponics is and how we do it here at AgWorks. So let's go ahead and head down into the facility and take a closer look at what we have going on here. We're going to start off our tour up on the mezzanine. The mezzanine is the second floor of our facility and is considered our high production area. Up here, we're growing plants in channels called NFTs. This stands for nutrient film technique. Basically up here, we're putting our plants in these square holes that runs the length of these metal racks. We can grow several hundred plants up here, which means if we have to produce a lot of lettuce or leafy greens for any reason, we can produce a lot of produce up here. This is the area that we would focus on if we're trying to get out a lot of produce at once. All right, before we head downstairs, we'll go over this way and we'll check out the air plants that we have hanging above our facility. Hanging above AgWorks, we have a bunch of different air plants that are attached to these metal spheres. Air plants are an ornamental plant, and it's a pretty cool way for us to display some plants in the air above our facility. We have several different spheres located above the entire lab, and these plants will be lowered a couple times a week to be misted with just a regular hose. This allows our plants to stay nice and green and allow them to stay bright and hanging up above the lab. So let's head downstairs and we'll check out the rest of the facility. Here we have our dashboard. The dashboard collects all the data from the sensors throughout our system. It has a variety of applications, but the main application for it is for us to look at these data points in real time. This goes out 72 hours just by touching one of the parameters on the reports page, but we can look several weeks back in order to see correlations of data in our system. All right, so let's head over to one of our fish tanks and actually talk about what aquaponics is. All right, so here we have our first of 4 fish tanks in our system. We have 2 different types of fish here at AgWorks. Our first tank is tilapia. We also have koi fish, which we will see momentarily. Let's talk a little bit about how aquaponics works. So in aquaponics, we are using fish waste in order to grow our plants. The way that that works is that water moves from this fish tank over into this thing called a clarifier. The clarifier is going to house all of that liquid and solid waste, and this will eventually be drained out into our system. This means that that nutrient water is going to be given to our plants about once a week when we empty our clarifiers. The reason this works is because of a biological process called nitrification, as well as mineralization and other processes that happen with the help of bacteria that is located throughout our system. With the help of these bacteria, we get nutrients that our plants can use in order to grow. So from fish waste to clarifier to our plants, they are working with one another in order to support one another. Aquaponics very much is like its own ecosystem. If you throw one variable out of balance, you can start to see issues throughout your system, whether it be issues with your plants or issues with your fish. You want to make sure that you're monitoring all the variables throughout your system. Okay, now that we talked about what aquaponics is, let's take a look at the growth medium that we use for our plants. So let's head this way. Here at AgWorks, in addition to the NFT system that we saw up on the mezzanine, we have a float raft system as well as a rock media bed on this side. They both have their own applications. Basically, our float rafts we use mainly for leafy greens and herbs. We have a bunch of different varieties of lettuce planted in this bed, and weekly we're harvesting produce out of our system. The media bed, on the other hand, is mainly used to house plants with larger, more complex root systems, as you can see here. Right behind me, we have a coffee tree. And this would not really work in our float system. Obviously, if we put a coffee tree on a styrofoam raft, it's just going to fall over. So each of these media beds have their own application, and the plants that go in them match the application of those media beds. All right, so like I said before, we have two different types of fish here at AgWorks. The first type of fish that we took a look at is tilapia. The second type of fish is our koi fish. Now, koi generally aren't something that you see in aquaponics. Koi can be pretty expensive, but can be sold just like tilapia can. The main difference is our koi fish are not going to a restaurant to be eaten. They would be sold to a construction company or something along those lines that would want to use them for a koi pond or any sort of ornamental fixture where you would have fish. I said that AgWorks is an aquaponics facility, and largely that is what we are. But we have a couple of different units that aren't aquaponics. They would be considered aeroponics and hydroponics. The main difference being that in aeroponics and hydroponics, we're not using fish waste as our source of nutrients. We are rather using a liquid fertilizer or a liquid nutrient solution. An example of one of those units is right next to me here. This is an aeroponics unit. It's a tower garden. So in aeroponics, what's happening is our plant roots are hanging directly in the air and they're getting showered with that nutrient solution. Hydroponics is a little bit different. That's not what this unit is, but in hydroponics, the plant roots are submerged directly in that nutrient solution. So there's a bit of a difference between the two. In our tower gardens, we can grow a variety of different crops. Right now, what we have in this one is we have some basil in the top portion, and in the lower portion, we have some cucumbers growing. We can put a variety of different things in the grow towers, but largely we're putting herbs in these or anything that a student may want to plant for their project. We can have a grow tower ready to do that planting experiment. Here at AgWorks, we can grow tropical plants. Like you saw with the coffee before, normally that is housed in a more tropical climate with higher temperature and higher humidity. Because we are controlled environment agriculture, meaning that we control different variables such as temperature and humidity, we can grow things in here, such as this banana plant that you see behind me. This is an ice cream banana plant, and it will eventually grow significantly taller than my shoulder height here. We can grow things like this banana because we are controlling the temperature and humidity of our space. It can be 40 degrees outside, but it's pretty much going to be 70 plus in here year round. That lets us grow things like a banana, like coffee, in a climate such as Pennsylvania. Right now, we're standing in our research and development laboratory. In the R&D lab, we can do experiments such as the one that you see next to me. In this experiment, we're looking at what happens when you expose a plant to only blue light versus only red light. We can do experiments like this in the R&D lab because it is a smaller footprint compared to the larger facility outside, and it gives us a more controlled space to do different trials like this. Right now, we're standing in one of the last spaces that we have here at AgWorks. This is one of the two biotechnology labs that we have here. So this is the tissue culture laboratory. In the tissue culture lab, we explore lab science and a more scientific way to grow plants. In here, we can grow plants in a test tube. Using the help of these laminar flow hoods, we can keep a sterile environment to grow our plants, and those plants will eventually be housed in these incubators. In here is the last biotechnology lab that we have at AgWorks. This is our genetics laboratory. In the genetics lab, we can do a variety of different laboratory-based experiments and expose students to technology that is used in a professional field. In here, we can do things that normally students would see in a college setting or in a professional setting. Talking about career readiness is important, and for students interested in the sciences, this is a very relevant lab to what they would see in the professional setting. All right, now that you've seen our facility, I want to talk a little bit about what AgWorks is actually used for. We offer a variety of different programs for students K through 12. We offer clubs, different field trips, and different hands-on activities here at CCA. Even though CCA is a cyber charter school, we do offer hands-on programming here at AgWorks. An example of that is the internship that we offer for students who are in high school. It is a career readiness program that gets students hands-on experience to get them ready to move out into the workforce. If you're interested in any of these programs, you can check out Edio. We have all of our programs listed in Edio. And you can also reach out to our webmail, agworks@ccaeducate.me. We hope to see you soon.